So they've got to get to the tumor in the back. So they've got to go around to get to this tumor.
Welcome to the Brain Lady Podcast with your host, Karen D. Wood, the resident brainiac. Get ready for a mind-expanding journey as we unravel the mysteries of the brain from Notes from the Couch. Join us as we delve into the complexities and wonders of this enigmatic supercomputer. Fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare to have your synapses fired up. Welcome to the captivating world of the Brain Lady Podcast.
And welcome back to the Brain Lady Podcast. My name is Karen D. Wood. I'm your favorite neurotherapist, teaching you about the brain and body and behavior balance. We are here recording in the podcast layer with Phil Vale, and we have next to us,
hey,
Mr. Jermaine Jackson.
We are back, Wood. I'm glad to be back here in the podcast layer with Wood, the brain lady, the specialist, the mind-talking hippocampus.
Yeah.
All the stuff, girl.
All the stuff.
All the stuff. So I'm excited because it is nothing like listening to a note from your couch. It's an area that we don't really get to go in. People don't get to go and sit on the therapist's couch unless you are getting therapy. But here at the Brain Lady Podcast, we get to grab a note from the couch. And I also want to talk about your amazing book that we cannot forget. It is on Amazon. It is called Brain Prayers. Please go onto Amazon, search up Brain Prayers, and get your copy of Karen's book. And also talk to us in the comments. I know you guys are watching these podcasts. I know you're tuning in on YouTube. Drop a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if you have any questions, because we would love to answer them. So, Wood, I'm ready to get to the couch.
You're ready to get to the couch?
Yeah.
And are you ready to chat throat?
Yes.
Right answer. That was the right answer.
Yep.
Chat throat.
Yeah.
Chat throat.
What we got?
Well, we've got a guy in the couch
Okay.
feeling a lot of tension about a lot of things, and I'm teaching him about parts of the throat, which we'll explain.
Okay.
And because he's talking about when he gets upset, he gets a real thick throat and he has trouble swallowing. And he says, here's your quote from the couch, "I want to win the battle in my throat. I want to win the battle in my throat." So here's what we're talking about. In the last session, we talked about marriages and the Richter scale and the hijack and kind of how to feel it all over in your body. But right now, we're going to concentrate on the throat. So before we do that, we've got to talk about what that's about, the throat.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a lot of things that run our system. One of them is the autonomic nervous system, which is a involuntary thing that just happens when we get upset, the sympathetic system.
Right.
And we can calm ourselves down with the parasympathetic system. So we have the sympathetic system that we're going to have a chart here in a second now that does the fight and flight in the brain. So here's our brain. It's responding. We're looking for the one that's that body. So here we got in the screen. If you're listening to audio, you can Google the parasympathetic response system. So what happens is it's pretty amazing. We have the body getting upset, and it impacts all these organs. It dilates the pupils all the way down to accelerating the heart and the stomach and the pancreas. And then when we get the parasympathetic side going, which is the rest and digest side, it constricts the pupils. It stimulates saliva and tear production. There's one of our big phrases, stimulate saliva. It constricts the bronchi, slows the heart, it stimulates the stomach. So we've got one part of the system getting upset, sympathetic system, and the other side saying, hey, let's calm all this down. But it's all really involuntary. But then what happens, it just happens. It just keeps us going when we get upset. But then we've got another part of the system that we have more control over. So let's look at the glossopharangeal nerve. Did you know you had one?
In your throat, right? That's the one that runs.
Nice work.
Right
on your ear.
Yes.
Tongue, ear, throat.
And it runs down. Yep.
Nice work. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Glossopharangeal nerve. I love the name. I learned about it when I was writing brain prayers for kids. And I needed G words, glial cells, ghrelin, Glossopharangeal nerve, what's that?
What is that?
Well, it helps you swallow.
Okay.
And I thought, you can't put that in a kid's book, glossopharangeal nerve.
No one's going to be able to read that.
Except the kids can say Tyrannosaurus Rex. So you got to say glossopharangeal, same number of syllables.
They can.
So we big people can too. And so it controls the tongue. A nice image on the screen.
Okay.
It controls the back third of the tongue. A lot of things, temperature, all kinds of things. And then here was the one that caught my eye. It joins with the parasympathetic fibers. The glossopharangeal, as it runs down your throat, runs right next to your vagus nerve, which is that nerve we know has a lot to do with your somatic system.
Right.
Gets you upset, can calm you down. Here's another picture that's just the glossopharangeal nerve. So here's a lady sideways that just shows it comes from the tongue, so it controls the tongue. There's the swallow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to the ear. This is the guy that when you're in the airplane, your ears go crack, 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 crack.
Right.
That's because it's helping your ears. And then it helps you swallow. So when you get upset, this constricts and you get that lump in your throat.
Throat, yes.
Right? And you're trying to get unupset. So the power of what we're talking about today is for us to know that when we stop and swallow, drink, sample, nice. I used to think it had something to do with tipping the head or actually putting something in the stomach. It's when we swallow that glossopharangeal nerve, bless you, says, hey, let's take a second. And I do this in front of clients all the time. Little pause awkward, but it's okay.
But it activates your parasympathetic.
That glossopharangeal nerve tells all the organs with that vagus nerve, they pair up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I do that's quite brain nourish is I love to watch surgery shows. And when I watched this week that I was going to include, but I thought it would gross you all out, so I didn't. They have a brain tumor in the back. Oh, you would have liked that, wouldn't you, Phil, if I had done the gross one? Yeah, I thought so. Mm-hmm. Halloween week and everything. So they've got to get to the tumor in the back. So they've got to go around to get to this tumor. Mm-hmm. And that surgeon, so your glossopharangeal nerve and your vagus nerve are maybe not even a half an inch apart.
Okay.
And he's got to go through there with a tool. And if he touches either one of those, paralysis.
Wow.
The swallow, or it might not swallow. And that surgeon did it, which was absolutely astounding.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about having this automatic system where we don't have any control, but then the somatic system where we do have control. So if you can get that somatic system slide there, Phil.
So is this why, like, my oldest son, Noah, anytime he's either in trouble or he's being disciplined or I'm talking to him about something, he can't talk.
Yes.
Right? He gets like that lump in his throat and he tries to swallow and he can't swallow. And then, because anytime he's my oldest, but he's the first one to cry if he gets in trouble. Right? He's my big old baby. But that's what it is. There he is. But he's the one. If he gets in trouble, he can't swallow. He can barely talk. And it even sounds like his throat is swollen.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we just did on that last episode about the scale of 0 to 10. You can hear he's getting way up there with the danger warning, right? And so, yeah, he cannot analyze himself at that moment.
Right.
He can't even swallow at that moment.
Which is why. And you would think, like, he acts like I beat him or something. He's just...
The brain doesn't know the difference, remember?
It's just, go to your room, you push your brother down for no reason.
And how high is the dad's disapproval scale at that moment?
It's not that bad.
Oh, my scale.
It's not that bad. Come on, let's not punch your brother.
Mm. So here we have the central nervous system, the spinal column, brainstem, brain divided into parts. Then here's the important part where it's the link to the outside, which I love that phrase. So we've got the automatic nervous system. It regulates the body respiratory, and that breaks down into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And so what we're talking about is where we do have control of the situation is the somatic system. So we're talking about the somatic system. It's more ability we have to control how our body connects to the outside earth. So the somatic system is where we can engage that parasympathetic system. And what we're talking about today is how to use the swallow to do that. So if we feel that tightness in our throat and scale of 0 to 10, we feel that number cranking up, then we can engage that parasympathetic system, which we know starts at the top of the spinal cord, which I just think is marvelous, right next to that swallower. Get that swallow going. And you'll often feel after you have the swallow that your body lets you move around a little bit and you take a big exhale because that amygdala is calling off the dogs to say you're going to be okay. And it's talking to the gut to say you don't need to keep pushing out that cortisol and adrenals. And everybody's realizing we can partner and have better balance in whatever situation we're in. So that's what this note from the couch was talking about. The fight in the throat was feels the tension, like little Noah, you feel the tension, having a hard time swallowing. People talk about a lot about this before they have to give speeches, that they have a hard time swallowing. And so we have a lot of control, way more than we think we do, of how to use this outside body, move those shoulders around, take the swallow, pause, let it go down. That's why sometimes I like to have cold drinks or warm drinks so I can actually feel it go down. So I can say, hey, lungs, you're going to be okay. Let me breathe a little bit better. Hey, stomach, we got this. Hey, gut, let's do this thing better. And you can actually feel the relaxation. I really think this might be one of the reasons why we have to eat so many times in a day.
Ooh.
I've always wondered that.
Is that what you call emotional eating?
It can be.
Oh, really?
I think we have the healthy eating where we always wondered as a mom, I got so tired of cooking so many times a day when my boys were home.
No, so when all this is happening, is that why testing 1, 2? Hey, there we go. I'm back on. I guess the metal plate kind of threw off the signal there coming there. Is that why when things are happening, we're in the middle of like our emotion is going crazy and people says, don't overreact or it's okay, calm down. You're like,
that is such a dangerous thing to say because by the time we say, hey, calm down, the person's most likely already hijacked. And then any instruction from anyone else is dangerous at that point. And calm down is offensive. It's destructive. It actually makes us more upset. Okay, so what do we say then?
Yeah,
if we've got somebody who's hijacked, what do we say? If we've got kids, the best way to do it is distract them. There's an amazing podcaster named The Attachment Nerd. I just love her. And she gives a lot of good tips on how to do the attachment and relating work with children. And so then the word there is to distract them. So you've got two kids fighting in the kitchen and they're both hijacked and you want to launch into the parental lessons of not hitting your brother. That's not referring to what Jermaine was just saying, just in general.
Yeah.
That it's fuel in the fire. So if we can say, oh, who's going to set the table? Hey, you do glasses, you do cups. And for a moment, make it like it's a nothing. Yeah. It feels wrong as a parent to just drop it because we think we have to address every issue. If they move on and then move back in the sibling, you have taught them the most important thing rather than actually disciplining. You both go to your room for the night because now you've added all kinds of stress and layers on it.
Wow.
So
is that why I kind of like my 4-year-old, and I love you have a squirrel there on your desk, but you know, I on your left right there. Yeah. The squirrel's going to bite you. Yes.
You moved it.
Yeah. It moves around with every take here, but you know, my daughter, I've talked about her how she's 4 years old. So emotionally, she is still developing. And so I find myself, why am I arguing with the 4-year-old in the middle of her little fit or a tantrum or like her questioning, like why, or, oh, it's a sunrise. It's not a sunrise. It's a sunup or sundown. Oh, she just flips things.
Yes.
And I'm like, I realize, don't argue. I'm like, wow, is that what I try to redirect? I try to throw a squirrel. Oh, look at the sky. What color is the sky? Is it black or is it purple or is it green? No, it's not green.
Just did her little limbic system thinking about something else.
Exactly. So it's so true what you're saying.
And so this idea of sending them to their bedroom, what Jermaine was talking about was a dangerous situation. Kid hitting a kid. Well, then, yes, the separation is needed, right? My example was more of just bickering in the kitchen, right?
Well, yeah.
or if you had 2 kids, because when you have the other one, oh, sorry, that's another topic.
Oh, mine is used a lot. Mine. Yeah.
And that's a developmental phase. Is mine.
Yeah. But I tell that to the wife too. And then she says, "No, it was mine." Wait, no, that's a different thing. I get in trouble.
Not get into the wife here. Yeah.
Yeah, not just kidding, wife.
So you're talking about eating, and I was saying I think that's one of the reasons we have to eat so many times in a day is so we can adjust our swallower and just take time to settle in with ourselves. That's why I tell people who are real anxious and emotional eaters, just stop, move your shoulders, sit up straight, take a breath, and look at all the color on your plate. Just look at the color on your plate.
Color on the plate.
It distracts the mind from the emotional distress that I'm going to eat that in 2 minutes. If I just pause and look at the color on the plate. So there's different things you can do to realize the tension of emotional eating.
Yeah.
But if you can realize, just like trying to stop smoking, if we can stop and realize, hey, how much of that is because I gave myself a break and started actually breathing? So what if I actually stop and breathe before I smoke? When people come to me, I don't say, my job is not to get you to stop smoking. My job is to get you to learn the power you have with your own breath, your own swallow, your own balance. And then when I'm going to do emotional overeating, which I love to do, I am the girl that can eat a whole can of Pringles on a Friday night. That is emotional eating. That is 8 servings of a very toxic, not good for you, salty thing. 8 servings.
Pasta for me. That's
pasta.
Gotta have the pasta.
And trying to cut back on.
Yeah, we're trying. We're doing it. I'm on the path here and there. I'm trying.
But it comes back to our outcome-based thinking. If we can notice the tension, and the swallower is a great tension identifier. If I am so impacted by my swallower, I'm probably well up that tension reaction scale.
Is that why when we get nervous and we kind of take a breath and just kind of pause for a second, you kind of like that fear factor or that anxiety just kind of like you could work through or navigate the steps a little bit?
You're using your body long as you can exhale out. She's had some practice in trauma. Why she has. That just told my amygdala, I am fine right now. My to-do list is really long right now with a lot of different projects and things and a wedding in the yard this weekend and blah, blah, blah. And when I stop and do that a few times a day, it just kind of tells my amygdala, you don't need to keep me racing at an 8 or a 9 where I'm going to be hijacked all the time. I can handle all of this. There's only so much I'm going to be able to get done. And then my frontal lobe opens up again. So the tightened throat is really a sign I'm losing access to my frontal lobe because the body's doing that sympathetic constricting of everything, right? And it's going to do this reaction of everything. So our job is to use the throat and the swallowing as a beautiful sign that I have more control in this situation than I thought I did.
So the difference of we have more control in the situation versus the fear or that things are not in control like that.
Absolutely.
The chaos.
It's chaos. And back to our attachment nerd, then we get to talk about the different kinds of attachment we have: secure, insecure, chaotic, or psychotic. That all comes from our childhood and our adult trauma and the neuron sets we have. And if we can realize when things are getting chaotic, and one of the signs of trauma is chaos begets chaos. I create more chaos because I don't know what to do if it's not chaotic.
Wow.
That's where a lot of people of trauma have trouble with hoarding. It's not a throat thing. It's a control of something thing, right?
That sounds very powerful because when you're kind of living in chaos, and that's kind of what you're kind of used to it.
You're used to it.
And you're, us men, the tongue just, or your anger, your pride, you start saying things. Wait a minute, you're just adding more to the situation. It's no longer the problem. It's now your communication is the problem because what you're saying, you're hurting yourself
Absolutely. And if I can train my brain to notice what my swallowing's like, am I swallowing? Am I breathing? If I stop and take a long drink, does it shift things? And then I can say, thank you, amygdala, you're listening, and I'm listening, and let me get back to a wiser place in my body and my brain. So the swallower is really an indicator of where we're at, and it's a powerful tool. And it's twinned right up with that vagus nerve to say, hey, let's use this body, the whole body, to get to the new balance that I'm after in life, right? And so the swallower is just such an important thing to realize, that we have more control over a situation than we think. Even the big, big, big things, we have more control than we think we did.
For me, having that control, I feel like it's a fight. Honestly, it's like the fight. I'm a person of faith. Am I gonna submit to what the reality is? I can't control every outcome. I can only control my response. Am I reacting or responding? And I'm like, God, okay, give me the strength. There's the pause. There's the acknowledgement. And as far as and I'm trying to add a little spiritual element for me.
Right, for you.
Yeah. And so I love that. And you're taking a pause, swallowing.
And what if the knot in your throat tells you you're fighting something in a conversation or getting ready to do something? So the note from the couch today is this guy wanted to win the battle in his throat. And so we can feel it. Because what happens is that parasympathetic system releases acetylcholine in our blood vessels. It changes how our saliva is working. It changes the method of how all the chemicals are getting to all of our organs. And they're learning that acetylcholine is really, really important in dementia. So what if, I'm waiting for this research, what if we have people who are around us that are in brain damage of some state or another, what if we can help them be aware of how much they're swallowing? Does that actually going to help change brain damage? That's just an interesting thing to be thinking about. This is all new stuff we're learning. Just in the last 10 years, it's so very exciting. So you can be curious with yourself. If you're in a situation where you've got the knot in your throat or you feel the fight in your soul, take a deep breath. The deep breath probably will not be available. That's one of our faulty things in trying to help people. But the swallower is available. So when I see somebody really distressed in my office and they're fidgeting around and I can tell they're having trouble swallowing, I don't say, ooh, it looks like you're close to a 9. Can you just take a good breath? I don't even say it anymore. Well, I just say, hey, let's take a drink together.
You didn't say calm down?
I don't.
So and that's it's powerful what you're saying, because I'm reflecting that, being part of, just even behind the scenes here on the Brain Lady podcast, is that I feel like we being stewards of what God has given us in our brain.
Yes.
And acknowledging the power of it. God has given us a brain to use it, but in the way you describe it, breaking it down, makes it very so practical, especially you can talk about in your book and brain prayers. And I'm saying wow, I don't want to be living in that chaos. I have to swallow right now. Take a breath. Okay, and this helped me kind of focus my attention, what I need to focus attention, and instead of on things that don't really matter.
And finding that balance.
Yes.
So if you can bring our 4 steps up, let's run through that before the end of this episode to say, okay, I've noticed my swallower is out of whack. I've taken a drink. Now what do I do with all the chaos around me? And that's when this outcome-based thinking really comes in. So first we're going to review the 4 steps, and then we're going to try it on a box or 2 with Philville, since he's the victim today.
Oh.
So the first thing we're going to do is notice the tension. Okay, then notice the tension today is I've noticed my swallower is really thick, right? And then we're going to look at ourselves and the outcome of the picture without acceptance on the screen. Step number 2, outcome-based thinking. Look at yourself and the outcome of the picture. And it's this simple at this point. What's going to happen if I keep responding with this thick throat? Can I see the picture? I'm just going to get more and more upset. I'm going to shut down, going to say things I don't want to say. The throat is a clue that I'm losing my best balance. And then remember, acceptance just means the thing is, and I want my best brain. Doesn't mean it's right or good or true or lovely. But if we can go to step number 3 of outcome-based thinking, what's the outcome of the picture with acceptance that in this moment, I have the power to take a drink and take a rest. Remember, the parasympathetic system is about resting and digesting. So if I'm taking a good swallow, I'm telling that amygdala, hey, I'm listening to your alert. And the first thing I'm going to do is get my rest and digest moving with kind of a picture of that fluid going through because once it goes down to that stomach, it takes less than a minute for it to get to my brain, all that fluid in the blood vessels, which I think is absolutely amazing.
That I love what you're saying as far as when you said shut down, I felt that tension within myself. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of guilty of that. And I think a lot of us, even those listening, there is a real life impact when we shut down. Sometimes we try to have the chaos, but all of a sudden, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just enclosed. This wall of whatever pops up, shame, pride, anger, whatever that is. All of a sudden, I'm shutting down and succumbing to the things that are not healthy for me.
The sympathetic system is shutting you down because it thinks you're in danger. And so we can use these outcome-based thinking steps. Now pop the boxes on and we'll experiment on you. We got a couple minutes left. What happens then is, the chaos is still there. Big deal. I've calmed my body down. What do I do with life and the chaos? And that's when the boxes on the screen as a box worksheet are so helpful. Just take a piece of paper, write 4 boxes on the top. What are the 4 things creating your chaos? So before we started this session, you had a bunch of office rearranging to do. So what are what would be the 4 things you would have put in the boxes that you were feeling tension about? You knew I was coming. You knew I had time limit.
Yeah.
What were other things you were feeling tension about in just getting your podcast layer set up again?
Because we're in the middle of a move with the studio, what took place. And so a lot of things are in disarray. Things are not my muscle memory where I have it. It's not in order.
What a box that is. Don't know where things are, right?
Yes. So A is supposed to work with B, but now all of a sudden I need to make A work with H. Well, that's way down this. Okay, well, I got to make that work. And I've been working on this for a while. I'm like, okay, well, the client, the brain lady will be here soon. And I knew I can't do X, Y, and Z until she gets here. So I have to put that on the back burner until she gets here. So yeah, I feel that pressure because I want to produce an output that is at high quality.
An excellent outcome. And so that could be a box all by itself as the tension when I don't know where things are and where's the mic and where's the screen and where's it. But I could watch you walking. I was kind of fun. I wanted to record you actually, but I didn't. Should have. Because I could see you were settling on this thing and then settling on this thing and then settling on this thing, right? That was all acceptance. That's all I can get done at this moment.
It's funny because the ADD mind is like, you can be so sporadic, but the way I work and navigate through it, okay, if I'm doing audio first, am I doing video first?
I can see that clicking in.
I'm doing the microphone. Okay, yeah, that's there, but I can't do anything about it right now because I have to do this. I multitask one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. It's not multitasking, right? I have a plan. Just stick to the plan. It would all get done.
There's your acceptance. And I could see you were just clicking. And that allowed me just to sit and review notes and not worry about it. We were chatting. I didn't feel any cross tension from you, which was really nice. And
you're doing yoga in the corner? Right?
Yeah, that leg position. That was interesting, huh? So we talk every single session about outcome-based thinking depths because it is just the way to learn how to partner that brain and body together. So I'm glad you were able to join us today to talk about a thing you probably don't talk about very much, which is your swallower. How to pay attention to your swallower, how to invite other people to swallow. So it's just an amazing part of the body. And maybe I will bring in that surgery of the glossopharangeal nerve, just so you can see how amazing it is, how it all is just layered in that throat. It's so complicated how we connect this head to this body in this funny movable thing we have called a neck. And the body contains it all and it all works. It's just such a miracle. So I couldn't find a Bible verse about swallow because all that came up were the birds. So, but then I thought it really relies back to the Bible verses on how the Lord cares for even the sparrow. So as you look at your life and if something seems chaotic and out of control, just remember that if he cares for the sparrow and the fading flower, he cares for you. And I just think it's amazing. He made us with a swallower that gives us a way to control what we feel like we can't control. So thanks for joining today. Thanks for helping out with the end of that episode, Phil. And please comment. Let us know what you're thinking about all these things. We appreciate all the viewership. We just need some more comments.
Apple, Spotify, YouTube, thank you. The numbers are going up.
They're
Congratulations.
going up. We're now talking more than just thousands. We waited for the 500 and then the thousands, and it's growing. So we're really, really excited because the goal of this thing is to get this information out so more people can find healing in their neurology. So sit up straight, take your exhale, and thanks for joining us today.